Moving on to our next topic, and we've talked before about equity for women in sports. And, you know, Meghan Rapinoe, I'm sorry, has been one of the female athletes at the forefront of looking for equal pay and equal, or just equity overall. I remember at the Women's World Cup, you know, we found out that the women weren't getting paid as much as the men and this sort of thing. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but, and that's when this really kind of came about. And then, you know, Draymond Green kind of responded and saying, you know, women should pay more attention about growing their sport rather than about how much they get paid, this sort of thing. I think I kind of know what Draymond Green was saying, Brandon, but he certainly didn't say it the right way. So, I mean, what do you think about what's going on with Draymond Green and Meghan Rapinoe?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think and Draymond he doesn't choose his words wisely a lot. I love Draymond. I love Draymond, honestly, maybe because of that, because he doesn't have much of a filter. He kind of just lets you know how he's feeling and what he's thinking. I certainly loved his battles with Charles Barkley. I'd love to see another one of those coming up. But yeah, Draymond's one of those guys. He's going to let you know how it feels without the filter. And I've got to agree with him. And I know that's going to piss off a lot of viewers. But, you know, I'm all for equity and I'm all for equality. But when we're talking about this is sports entertainment, right, and it's a business, where does the money come from to pay the women athletes? That's my only question. And especially for Meghan Rapinoe, where does the income come to be able to boost your pay to $1 million or over $1 million? Because there's just people aren't watching the games. People aren't watching the games. People aren't buying the jerseys. People aren't buying the hats. Does this look like it's a woman's jersey? It's not a woman's jersey. So it's just one of those things where, unfortunately, there's no income to be able to back up pay like that. And we've talked about it on these shows in the past, right, about how the modern day athlete is overpaid. I've even been the one to say it, right? And we've talked about supply and demand is really the thing that's driven it up. And it's like, you know, obviously like a guy like Barry Sanders wasn't getting his paid as much as like a guy like, I don't know, like James White. I bet James White might be making more money than Barry Sanders. Yeah. Maybe not, but I don't know. But you get what I'm saying? It's just the difference of the time there and how much money is involved in sports now. So I think, hey, Meghan Rapinoe, I'm all for you trying to go for it and trying to get paid more money. I want to get paid more money. We all want to get paid more money. But where does the money come from, especially when we're talking about women's sports? People don't watch the WNBA. People don't watch women's soccer. Like I said, I'm nobody's going and buying that Meghan Rapinoe jersey. I haven't seen a Meghan Rapinoe jersey out there, you know, so I've seen Draymond Green jerseys. I've seen a lot of Draymond Green jerseys. So it's just one of those things where I think it's a numbers thing right now. I'm all for women getting paid. Like, hey, if this is we're talking about like a woman doctor at Johnson & Johnson and a male doctor at Johnson & Johnson, right, they should be getting paid the exact same amount of money. But we're talking about professional sports where there's a different amount of income and revenue involved. So there's just not any money or enough money to be able to pay them the money that they want. I'm sorry, there's just not.
Yeah, I think there's two sort of avenues in this topic that can satisfy kind of both sides. The side that would satisfy what Meghan Rapinoe is really talking about is when you're a World Cup team and, you know, you go to the World Cup as, you know, the U.S. soccer organization, you know, funds everything, funds your hotels and travel and meals and whatever, and the players get paid. Both the men and women are going to the World Cup, and this is what they get paid. And that part of it, it's you know, I kind of understand. Like they kind of probably should get paid the same amount, and then if a team wins, they get more, and so forth. That I could see. We saw it in the NCAA tournament. You know, this is a nonprofit talking about the NCAA, who should make sure that both the men and women get equal treatment. You know, the men's tournament's going to get more attention. It's going to get more money because the advertisers and people watching on TV. But the things that you can control, you really can't control how many people watch sports on TV. It's if they want to watch, they're going to watch. If they don't want to watch, they're not going to. But and of course you can do better advertising and promotional stuff, but at the end of the day, there's going to be right now more people watch, the NBA than women's soccer. So, I think there's a difference between the governing body or the governing organization of a sport not paying, the men's and women's teams equally, or treating them equally, or making sure that they both have equal, settings and things and resources and things like that, and salaries in individual leagues. If Meghan Rapinoe played in women's professional soccer league in America, they're not going to make as much money as the men in the MLS, because they don't play in as big of venues, they don't sell out as many tickets, they don't sell the TV advertising and so forth. If you look at like women's tennis is very popular. I actually would rather watch Serena Williams and Osaka, go at it than men's tennis. And I think that you see that. I think you see women's tennis it took them a little while to finally get paid equal at Wimbledon and some of the other Grand Slams. But I believe the pay is equal between men and women there, because you're essentially playing in the same tournament. You've got the same coverage. You've got everything the same as far as men and women. So that's why they can get the equal pay there. The two different leagues, it's almost like you got to look at two different businesses, right? Let's say you've got Bank of America, and Draymond Green works for Bank of America, and Meghan Rapinoe works for a smaller local bank. And Bank of America's salaries of their employees are probably higher because they just make more money, and so they can pay their employees better. I think that's the difference between the two leagues. So, I think the way that you look at it is the governing body needs to treat everybody the same, but the individual leagues, have certain revenue points, and they can pay their players what the market decides. And that's the difference there.
Yeah, I think more to back up your point, I agree with the national team thing. I think if it comes down to the national team, you're representing your country, it's all on the same playing field, whether it be at the Olympics or the World Cup. I think that they, should have a set pay, and it should be the same as the men. But when it comes to the individual leagues, like we're talking about, whether it be MLS or women's Major League Soccer, then there's just different revenue gaps and different revenue that's brought into play. And that's really what ends up deciding the length and the dollar amount that's brought into the players' contracts. And I think Meghan Rapinoe should kind of do like a few of her counterparts on the national team have done. They go and play in Europe. They go and play in Europe, and they go and play in the women's leagues in Europe, because in Europe they get paid a lot more money in women's soccer to play professionally. We've seen at least 3 or 4 women that have been on the national team over the last few years go and play professional soccer in the UK or in Ireland, because they're getting paid a lot more money. And that's because it generates more revenue in Europe compared to the United States. So I just think it's one of those things where I'm all for equity. We don't want to lose any women viewers out there. Please don't think we're saying anything bad here. I just can't figure out where the money would come from as far as the leagues and stuff. And it's an X's and O's thing, and it's a numbers thing. It's a mathematics thing. And I just can't find the money no matter where I look as far as the leagues go. So I'm sure it's something that we'll have some comments to deal with next week, and maybe get some blowback, but we'll talk about it going more on the show going forward and on future episodes.